Männer, es war ein langer Krieg. Ihr habt tapfer und stolz für euer Vaterland gekämpft. Seid eine besondere Truppe, die ineinander einen...
Hey everyone, Hydra Head here, and this is Sea of Thieves #2. This came out last Wednesday, or this last Wednesday. This is, I don't know if it's really based on the game. It's in the same world as a game that came out just a few days after the first comic, so I'm sure they're paralleling each other, and the comics is just about like the storyline. But I haven't played the game yet. Issue 1 was good. I enjoyed it. I recommended it. And this one's also good, if not even better than the last one. This is by Jeremy Whitley and Roald Marcellius. Of course, by Titan Comics. They're doing a lot of game comics lately. Titan's also, I believe they purchased some French company that put out a lot of comics in 2007, because Factory by Yassine El Ghouri, that was from a French company. They also did Way of the Snake, I think it was, something of the Snake, which was from the same French company and was translated and then re-released. Both kind of trippy sci-fi. But anyway, this is part of their game series, so let's go ahead and jump on in. It pretty much picks up right where the last one left off. The last one left off with them out in the Sea of Thieves, basically getting attacked as they just entered. They being the female captain, and her brother is still on the way there. So this first page is pretty great. I'm thinking I'm probably going to be dropping some spoilers in this. So if you haven't read it yet and you don't want me to ruin anything, I recommend it. It's better. I wouldn't say better. It's as good, if not better, than the first one. And then something I didn't point out. So these are only $3.99, which is pretty standard for comics right now. But I'm pretty sure they're a few pages longer than a standard comic, because it took me a little bit longer to read, and it's much heavier. And albeit they do use a lot of ink and some thick pages, I'm pretty sure this is longer. I didn't count the pages, though, so sorry. All right. So if you haven't read it and you don't want anything ruined, step away now, go buy it, and then you can come back and watch later. So it starts off pretty awesome. We get this action scene with our captain ordering her crew on what to do. She's basically telling them to man the gun. She sends our French girl Alessia downstairs to patch up some holes in the deck, and she mans the wheel and drops a little bit of humor. This would be a great time to have depth perception, which is funny because she's got one eye. So as the action starts, we find Naveed and the comic version of my father. Naveed is basically startled by the fact that they're taking damage. The big dude, what was his name? Seamaster? Doesn't matter. I'm going to call him Jim for right now, and when I get to his name, I'll... Seamark, that's his name, Seamark. Okay. Jim Seamark is what I'm going to call him. So Jim points out that they're taking fire, and he immediately sends the doctor down to help Alessia as they patch up the hole in the boat, and he decides to handle the cannons himself. Downstairs, we get Alessia and Nazeed jump into action, and there's a fair bit of banter between the two characters. Honestly, probably every other page they gave me something that got a genuine chuckle out of me, which is nice. You don't get a lot of people that can do just kind of not in your face humor but still keep it lively, and I like that. So Seamark pulls some badassery, and he ends up actually shooting this cannon into the other's ship and nails in a explosive barrel, blowing the ship apart and earning them a little bit of time, but they're still getting attacked hard. So, okay, yeah. So as they basically realize that they're being surrounded, sorry about that, by other pirates, we join our other crew, the brother, and our ex-crew member from the old team, Mel, I really don't know if her name's pronounced Mel. I should probably have looked that up, but I'm still going to call her Mel. Oh, DeMarco, that's right. So as Mel and DeMarco basically pop into the Sea of Thieves, where DeMarco's sister was already at and where her crew is currently fighting, they immediately start getting attacked too. They jump into action about as quick. We get our sharpshooter throwing down. DeMarco sends Mel to handle the wheel. And as we pass the slosh bucket boy, who's going and ready to action, they would go ahead and send him downstairs to patch up some holes. And that's when the ship gets boarded. Solid action sequence here. I mean, very dynamic, I guess you could say. Yeah, they're dynamic. Look. They're not at the center of their motion. They're either at the end or beginning of their swings, which is good. We got our motion lines. This is a good set of panels. They did a nice job. Back at the wheel, though, or the helm, Mel is basically playing the defenseless female. The guys tell her if they give her the wheel, or give them the wheel, they'll let her swim to shore. She makes a snappy comeback and works them over with her knives. And this is pretty cool. So, How to Make Comics the Marvel Way explains that in an action sequence, you want to use the very beginning over-exaggerated motion or the very end over-exaggerated motion, and that center motion is to be basically ignored because it's boring. So they got the good start and the finish, and instead of going with a very standard center, they kind of livened it up by giving it a melodramatic pose. And I think that speaks well for the artist and the writer if he's, like plotting out how the fight scene's going. But Mel basically just stomps face. Sorry about the pause, but I just am terrible at remembering some of these names. So as Mel is fighting, a sharpshooter manages to save her from an incoming attack, which of course causes an argument because they're both very much alike in that. And Mel ends up being able to save her life in turn. So back to being indebted, or out of being indebted. Then we immediately jump to the Sanctuary Outpost. A short time and distance away from the fighting. Here we find... Did I already forget his name? Really? Can't... Descartes? Rago? Why am I stupid? DeMarco! Christ. Alright. So DeMarco's sister and her crew are basically discussing what happened, and Alessia is still very upset about leaving Mel behind, which of course causes a disagreement between her and Seamask. Between her and Jim. The argument basically results in those two wanting to go to war with each other. Of course, the captain breaks it apart and makes them shake hands, which is, I'd say it's actually a pretty realistic way to deal with your crew, and that's kind of cool. They're, of course, muttering small hatreds towards each other as they shake hands. And I just want to say, they're doing a great job on this guy. I love his character. He very much reminds me of my father, his smartassery, his... just his whole persona. It's nice. It's familiar. But back in the same part of the town, as they're discussing the map that they basically stole from DeMarco in issue 1, a gold hoarder comes out of his shadowy tent, rubbing his hands. I'm going to try and read this. This is the captain. Who are you? A humble representative of the Gold Hoarder Trading Company, and a man with a good eye for talent. Why do you seek Discovery Ridge? A small matter, a family heirloom my father left me there. Your father? It couldn't be. Wait, what's this? And then he just jacks her compass out of her pocket, and she's yelling at him and threatening to cut him, and he's like, oh no, you wouldn't want to kill a gold hoarder. This fucking character. Look, he's even decked out in gold accessories. That's freaking hilarious. And he's he even calls himself a humble merchant. This is basically diversity in comics. As a cartoon character. Shekels for the poor. So, as they're arguing with this guy, apparently he's claiming that the Pirate King stole the gold, all of his gold, from the gold hoarders. And this guy's basically saying that he's going to kill them, take that map, and go get his gold back. As they're basically calling him out on his ability to do anything, he points out that he's not the only one who'd like to see them dead. And that's when Mel comes blowing in out of nowhere, slams Alessia to the ground, and just starts wailing on her. As she's basically beating her and yelling at her for betraying him, we Seamark. Why is that name so hard for me to remember? I don't understand. Anyway, Jim steps up behind her and is about to slit her throat. And, of course, he gets shot in the arm. Which is kind of funny because these two, Mel and our sharpshooter, are basically going... Mel and Rin. Remember that name? Mel and Rin have been going back and forth, saving each other and pulling each other in and out of basically owing each other. And that's when DeMarco shows up and starts lecturing his crew about what he thinks what he thought they just attacked everybody. It's at this point that DeMarco manages to get his map back. He also gets his compass back, and they end up separating ways once again. Mel, of course, stays with their crew, as it's pretty obvious DeMarco's sister doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. But inside of the tent, where the the gold hoarder was, Nazid the doctor was actually taking care of a witch inside, who had a terrible, terrible mole that was costing her a lot of business. So Nazid helps her out by showing her that you can just stick a banana over it, and after a few weeks it'll all go away. Which earns them a map of their own to get to where they're trying to go. So it all kind of works out nicely. A lot of good banter back and forth between Nazid and Seamark, as you can see from the banana in his mouth. So, as we join our other crew, though, DeMarco's crew, we find out some interesting facts about the slot boy. Turns out he was left in town to basically procure a couple supplies, and he got to chatting with the merchant there. Turns out the merchant was trying to start a trade alliance with the this other organization, so he just gave him a free map. DeMarco was kind of confused on what this really meant, and that's when the slot boy enlightens DeMarco to the fact that his uncle is one of the dukes at the other town that they just left. So DeMarco congratulates him, praises him, and you think he's going to like do some ass kissing, but instead he just sends him right back down to take care of the slot buckets. So we then find our rival crew basically pouring over their map and how worthless it is because the one that they really need was stolen. That's when they devise a plan to get it back and think they're going to have the upper hand again. I'm pretty sure this would be considered our main crew, DeMarco's crew. They, on the other hand, are partying it up on an island, getting drunk. Mel and Rin are becoming besties with some funny banter back and forth. And we see that there's some people spying on them that are planning on robbing them once they're drunk and passed out. On what I thought was the same island, but it actually turns out is a different island. Oh, okay, I'm dumb. It says right there it's a different island, so that's my fault for not noticing. We find Alessia and our other captain spying on another crew of people. And they assume a crew of people. A bunch of people surrounding a fire. Alessia is saying that she's positive that she can charm any man alive. She's going to go down there, get some information, and find their way out. Captain's not really having it, but she go ahead and she ends up agreeing and lets her do her thing. And that's when we find out that crew wasn't alive at all, which is a pretty nice setup for issue number 3. Oh, and one thing this one has. So the last one we got a rundown of DeMarco and his sister. This time we get a rundown of Alessia and Mel. Also some nice full page pictures of them. So I'm going to go ahead and say I would definitely recommend this. It was at least as good, if not better, than the issue 1. And from the looks of it, this this jammy Whitley chap has got his stuff together. So thanks for watching, guys. Sorry if I droned on for a bit, but Hail Hydra, baby.